Epstein's client list has finally dropped, and Pam Bondi is at the center of it all. When the smartest guy in the entire world cannot answer the question, why was no one ever charged in the Epstein scandal? So hopefully we're going to start getting answers. Why was this list hidden for so long? Who's on it? And what happens now? This changes everything. So let's break it down. So here's the $1 million question. Why was this list hidden for so long? Epstein was arrested in 2019 and later died of suicide. I truly don't believe that he died of suicide. I think that he was murdered. I watched that whole documentary. There's just too many coincidences that happened that whole day that led to his death. I really truly believe that he was murdered. And why was that? And why was this list hidden? There's so many powerful legal teams that were involved, government officials, media elites, CEOs, royalty even, that were on this list. So why has this list been hidden for so long? The amount of human trafficking that's going on, I just can't believe that this has all happened and that there was no one out there to protect these girls. Everybody cares about protecting elites, but no one cares about the people that were, or the women, or the girls that were affected by this. Again, I watched one of the documentaries on the girls that were affected by this. It affects their whole entire life. And I watched that movie, Sound of Freedom, and that's another thing that was kind of pushed down to the wayside. No one wanted that movie to get out. And it just really kills me that people don't want to shine a light on this. This should be just exposed. I talked to a lot of people that didn't ever want to see that movie, Sound of Freedom, and I kept saying I never really wanted to see it either, but it was just, I heard it was a really good movie. I heard, great things about it, so I did go to see it. And like, oh my God, it just changed the way I viewed so many things. And I have a daughter who's 15, and it just made me worry about her being out alone and just the naivety that even what I grew up in a small town in Canada is things that human trafficking is not something even, I don't even think I knew the word, let alone had to think about it. And I think about it all the time. And people don't want to talk about this. People don't want to make exposure. I always say, it's like, with a bunch of cockroaches, as soon as you turn a light on it, they all run. And that's what's happened. And here's another situation. I think we're going to shine a light on this, and we're going to see the cockroaches run and see how they're protected. But my concern is with those girls that were affected, and it's still going on to this day. I live 100 miles north of the Mexican border, and this is still going on with a lot of the illegal immigrants and that open border coming back and forth. Like I said, I worry about my daughter all the time. And Dr. Phil was actually on The View talking about the human trafficking that's going on. And one of the members of The View stated, like, well, how many is there really? And his response was one person, one kid, one person, one child being affected by this is one too many. It needs to stop. And the way to stop this is to expose it. I'm a big proponent on exposing this crap. I watched that documentary on the subway guy, and it was just amazing to me how he was getting away with it and no one was saying anything. And I really did not understand why the lady that was recording him, and she kind of picked up on it right away. As soon as she talked to him, I think it was the first time that she talked to him, that he said something, made a comment about one of the young girls. They were in the middle school, and she picked up on it like right away, and she followed through with it for the longest time. And the FBI was involved, and I could never figure out why nothing ever happened. The FBI knew about it. They were tracking him for years, and she was helping them. And I could never figure out why. And then I saw her being interviewed on the Megyn Kelly show, and she asked the exact same question that I was thinking. Why did the FBI know about it and keep following it along? And she had like a really smart response that I never even thought about. She said, instead of like going fishing and catching one, it's like throwing a net and catching all of them. And she said, let's just say it wasn't a coincidence that Epstein was exposed, I think within a year after the subway guy. So I think once they follow, like, I guess they follow together, one of another, they follow together. So once you see one person, they are probably communicating with others. And like I said, the FBI threw a net on it. And hopefully that this is all getting exposed. But unfortunately, still to this day, we are still talking about the human trafficking that's going on, not even with just Epstein. I personally had a girlfriend that was down in the islands and got met Epstein and his girlfriend, and she actually had invited her over to Epstein's Island. And I remember my girlfriend, who's just a few years younger than me, so we're older now, and she was probably in her like in her 20s. She said it was just an uncomfortable feeling that she got, just being around them. And I think the one thing that Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever her name is, she came up to her and she met her for the first time, and she said that something about, oh, you have a nice ass or something like that. And she just thought it was really weird. And it's so funny that it's coming out later on, that this has all been come out. But she said that her gut feeling right away was, something's wrong. And they were all kind of going from one island to another, and they were going to the Epstein's Island. But she said she felt uncomfortable and she didn't go. So that's as far as that story went. But I'm sure she probably would have thought a lot if she went. But a lot of times these young girls, they just don't get those gut feelings that we do as we get older and more mature. You know, my mom always said, like, we're the only animal that like second guesses ourselves. Like, if you're a deer in the woods and you hear the trees rustle, you get the hell out of there. They don't stop and go, oh, was that the wind or was that whatever? They just get the hell out of there. And I really am trying to teach that with my daughter, and even with myself. Don't second guess yourself with girls. If you're uncomfortable, get the hell out of the situation. This whole Epstein thing has just been, it turned everything upside down. And it's just disappointing that absolutely no one has been charged in this. So hopefully Pam Bondi's list is going to get exposed. Epstein's list and his client list will all be exposed. And at least people will, no one's taking responsibility for this. And I always said, like with Elon Musk, he's the smartest guy in the world. He can send a rocket up into air and get it to land in this little hole. He's that smart, but he cannot answer the question of why nobody has been charged in the whole Epstein scandal. So hopefully Pam Bondi gets this list out, and we'll see what happens. Here are some of my thoughts on what's going to happen.